Satchidananda Rupaya Vishwotpatyadi Hetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Janmadyasya yatonvayandi taratascharteshwabhignaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yatsurayaha Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sadani Rasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Dharma Projita Ketavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavamatra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vaparerishwaraha Sadyo Hridya Varudyate Trakritibihi Shushushubhistatchana. Hari Om, and greetings from Prayag, which is in Bharat. Here are some of the highlights of what is taught. This is the essence of Hamsa Gita. The verse that I had read to you, and I'm reading it again, I'm still in the 11th section, the 13th chapter. This is verse 22. Vastu no yadyananatmam atmanah prashna idrishaha katam gateta vo vipra vakturvameka ashrayaha. Bhagavan Narayana, in the form of a Hamsa, shares whether from the perspective of the spirit or the perspective of the body, there is only oneness. From the perspective of the spirit is infinite. With infinity, there is no other. There is only oneness. And even from the perspective of the body, this body is made up of elements, your body is made up of elements, all is made up of elements. So there's only oneness. He's trying to share with Bhagavan Brahma and all of us objects, the mind, the spirit. There is only oneness. And for anyone who's really thinking about this, doesn't this sound like the original Bhagavata? In the original Bhagavata, Bhagavan Narayana tells Bhagavan Brahma, infinity is real. And then shares many other thoughts, but starts off with infinity is real. If infinity is real, there's no more questions. Think about that. If you fundamentally have faith in infinity, what questions would you have? All you would be doing, all of your effort would only be to be. That is Advaita Vedanta, the science of oneness. Now, trying to make this more practical. As long as we identify and strategize at the object level or body level or mind level, we will still be stuck in objects, the body, and mind. When you've been reading for a long time and you have to edit something, suppose you're writing and you're reading this and you've done this for a long time, what do you miss? Your mistakes, correct? You need to step away. You need to have someone else do that. So as long as we're trying to find a strategy to have willpower over the mind, over objects, it won't work. Vivek is not saying this. Bhagavan Krishna is, but this is Vivek's own experience also. I've tried 2 million different strategies on how to nurture willpower through objects, body, mind, and it doesn't work. And now my strategy is pray for determination, pray for stronger willpower. Bhagavan says, you have to identify with that which is higher. What's immediately higher than the mind? The intellect. Have an ideal. Have a sense of ethics that you will not fall into the trap of this object or that indulgence. And even more elevated than that is this sense of oneness. We indulge in that which is not us. Can you indulge in your own hand, your own teeth? But we can be lusty towards another person's arm, their mouth. What triggers that lust is that they're not you. But if you feel they're you, it's impossible to be lusty. Imagine you saw a beautiful person from the back and you keep looking at them and thinking about them and so on. And then you walk to the front and see that it's your brother or sister. Then how do you feel? No comment. Right? Because there's that sense of oneness. Yes, it makes complete sense. Bhagavan Krishna says, all that you experience is me, just with different qualities and forms and names. So now reflect on what object are you infatuated by, but now have the vision that that's Bhagavan Krishna. Now you're thinking, we'll eat it more. We'll watch it more. If you're doing that, you've forgotten Bhagavan Krishna. Why would you eat Bhagavan Krishna? For anyone who loves Bhagavan Krishna, he lives in every being's heart. I emphasize that repeatedly in Meaningful Mornings in chapter 10. And so if he lives in everyone's heart, and he does, then that means you have to love all beings. Humans, animals, plants. And if you don't, then don't say you love Bhagavan Krishna. That's not accurate. If you love Bhagavan Krishna, the expression of that is you love his Vishwarupa. Swami Tejomayananda has added a few more thoughts he's shared. The mind, the body, objects, these are just conditionings. This is not your nature. This is your nature as if conditioned, but they're different. So whatever condition the mind and body is, go higher. They're never going to be perfect. Let it be. One more beautiful insight that Swami Tejomayananda shares. He says, when we try to develop this willpower of the mind over the objects, but we're still operating from a low perspective, it's like fighting a ghost. That object, that body, that mind, it doesn't have its own independence. It's a ghost, and you're fighting that. Our younger son, Shuka, He's afraid of statues. And one of our cousins' home, there's one of those like Rajasthani guards, with the turban and the sword and so on. And he's afraid of it because it's bigger than him. And we try to explain that this can't move, this can't hurt you, but he doesn't have that understanding yet. So he feels that this will move and will hurt him. So it's like he's fighting this in his own mind. We have to cover it with a jacket and so on. But with Vyasa, he has that understanding that this is not real. This can't harm him. And you're all smiling. Yeah, what a good example. I'm talking to you right now. We're no different. At least Shuka, he's 3 years old. All of us are 30 and 40 and 50. His is ignorance. Ours is negligence. Those are very different. Stop fighting this ghost. Through every experience of ours, who is there? I started off with sharing Jagadishwara is the Antaryami, the one who lives inside of you. And the one who lives inside of you is awareness. Awareness allows the mind to engage in those objects. If you identify with awareness, your mind will never bother you. Your mind can't touch you. And this really awesome teaching that is in chapter 13 is completed, and Bhagavan Hamsa shares, O learned ones, I have now given you the quintessence, the most hidden part of the teachings of yoga and Sankhya. Know me to be Yajna, the Mahavishnu, come here to instruct you in the science of the spirit. This chapter has to be reflected on much more. Today, as I was listening to Swamiji teach Bhagavatam Skanda 4, I was thinking, he doesn't have an agenda, so he can just talk and go in many directions. And I was comparing that to our Vedanta and Bhagavata course, that we have an agenda. We have to keep moving forward. And that requires your active participation to reflect. Everyone understood the difference? If we can just talk about this, we'll all die before this is completed. But today I figured out that we're actually going to complete Bhagavatam at the end of this year, not the end of this summer, the end of this year, which will be in a full 5 years that we've invested into Bhagavata. And that too with an agenda, as in with a vision to complete. I mean it, if I could teach the way that Swamiji did today, it would take 3 times longer. And some of us wouldn't be around to be able to complete this. We're supposed to cover 2 chapters more. I'm going to cover chapter 14, and then we'll have our discussion. Rishi Uddhava is trying to delay Bhagwan Krishna from leaving. We do the same, correct? When we go to someone's house and we don't want to leave, you have a cup of chai, then you're hungry again, then you have to go to the bathroom, so then you're hungry again. It's called gupshup, right? It's just an inefficient, slow way of leaving. Just sit down and decide to leave. So he keeps asking more questions, and he shares. Sanatana Dharma is vast. We're learning a lot about this. Which path is the best in Sanatana Dharma? What should I follow? And Bhagavan Krishna answers this. This is the 14th chapter, the 27th verse. Vishayan dhyayatas chittam vishayeshu vishajjate mamanusmaritis chittam mayeva praviliyate. Bhagavan Krishna shares, firstly, the best path is to be a bhakta. The best way to be is to be a devotee. And he highlights one practice of a bhakta. It is, initially, they may be attached to objects. However, through the remembrance of me, mam anusmarati, mayeva praviliyate, slowly their mind transitions from that object to me, and praviliyate means it starts to dissolve. The mind starts to become thoughtless. Have you prayed for that in the past? Your mind is so loud, and you just pray for the mind to be quiet, for the mind to be thoughtless. Here's how. I have found in my travels over the past year that many people are struggling with overthinking. And the source of that overthinking is insecurity. And for the one who overthinks, the greatest gift that could be given to them is for them to have a quiet mind. Here are some highlights about what bhakti means, why this is the best. The joy that a bhakta experiences is never experienced by a bhogi. One who has no willpower, which means their mind is on objects and not on awareness, they can never experience the joy that a bhakta experiences. Bhagavan is sharing this. He shares gradual devotion. He's not even saying that this should be something you jump into. It should be gradual. What this will feel like is a gradual disinterest in objects. The word vairagya means detachment, dispassion. Just change it to disinterest. For most of you, you're disinterested in video games, correct? I grew up playing video games. I had a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, a Nintendo 64, etc. But I grew disinterested because I became a bhakta. A bhakta of playing sports outside, correct? So this devotion or dedication will help one with being disinterested. And this chapter invests a lot in dhyana. Like the verse I read, if you keep contemplating on objects, your mind becomes heavier. And if you are able to contemplate on Bhagavan, then your mind becomes lighter. So what is shared here is that one should contemplate on their Ishta Devata, and so many details are given. And the finality or the fulfillment of contemplation on your Ishta Devata is that the seen, the seeing, and the seer start to feel like one. When we contemplate, you are the contemplator, contemplating on the contemplated. How do you know if you're an astute contemplator? Where all of this is becoming one. Yesterday, when my father was teaching Ramayana here, I sat in the back. And I was slowly watching how the ones who wanted to sleep, and then they had the thought of sleep, eventually slept. So they became one with sleep. See, I was prepping for Bhagavatam by watching everyone. So you will know that you're contemplating well when you feel this verb going away that you're contemplating, and instead you are being. Oh.